I think we need a whole of society approach to go against the CCP. And what I mean by that is that our qualms, our issues, our, opposition to the Chinese Communist Party does not derive from what they're doing to the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. Yes, of course, that's horrible. And we don't stand for genocide. And that's just another glaring example of how the Chinese Communist Party is a godless, moralless, unethical, evil regime. But if you make that the primary focus of really the evils, the sins of the Chinese Communist Party, you're missing the forest for the trees, and a very vast forest at that. And what I mean by that, and I typically call people who focus on the China issue, specifically the Uyghur side of things, I call it performative activism. And what I mean by that is that since in the United States, there is somewhat of a consensus that you have to at least publicly be tough on the Chinese Communist Party, people who deep down really don't hold this conviction to their core sort of use the Xinjiang issue as a cop-out, right? That's what they'll focus on, but they won't touch on any other issues, right? They won't get into the fact that the Chinese Communist Party really has effectively annexed so many aspects of the United States, that the Chinese Communist Party really has declared war on the new federal state of China, the whistleblower movement, going after you guys in every way imaginable, mainstream media articles attacking you guys, just one example of that. So I think it's important to not miss the forest for the trees in terms of just isolating Xinjiang and the human rights abuses as the key component, because I would argue that the Chinese Communist Party, the most evil thing that they've done, at least in terms of how it has impacted America, at least in recent times, really was the release of the bioweapon that is COVID-19, because not only did it cost the lives of, millions of Americans, but it really is how they were able to manipulate the rest of society to go along with mask mandates and vaccine mandates and lockdowns. And what I mean by that is you really saw a return on investment for the decades of compromise that the Chinese Communist Party had been trying to materialize here in the United States, right? Media outlets were very, very, very laudatory of how the Chinese Communist Party handled COVID-19. They weren't critical. They advocated against locking down the United States in terms of allowing travel in from China, while simultaneously advocating for vaccine mandates and mask mandates. Of course, you had politicians, probably those, same 65 who voted against this China committee, not wanting to get to the bottom of where COVID-19 came from and just parroting the talking points of the World Health Organization, who claimed that COVID-19 developed naturally, which we know that's not the case. It came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And it really is, I think, COVID-19, the perfect example of the threat that the Chinese Communist Party faces, not just because of these bioweapon programs, right, launching bio attacks on the United States and the world writ large, but how, because of the fact that they control America from top to bottom, right, from Wall Street to these law firms, to talking heads and mainstream media outlets, to think tanks, to academia, they sort of have, grasped American society to the point where they can sort of decide what they want the consensus to be.